Everyone. My name is Mike McNeil. I'm with the Ohio Department of Transportation Safety Program, and thanks for joining today for the little webinar on the new GCAT system and the platform that we recently switched over to. I'll be doing the presentation today, and then Derek Troyer is going to be monitoring the chat pod and whatnot. So if you have questions as we go along, you can go ahead and type those in there, and he'll address them accordingly. But at the same time, we're also just documenting all those so that after this is the third webinar, we're going to just compile all those and just kind of go through them. And if there's any that we haven't answered, then we'll kind of address all together and whatnot. So if you don't have your phones on mute already, if you could please just go ahead and throw those on mute. We'll just kind of, again, hold questions till the end. But if you have them as we go along, feel free to type in the chat pod. So this is the third and final webinar we have on the GCAT system and the transfer of platforms that we have from the existing GCAT system to the TIMS system. Kind of an overview of today's training. I know we have like a wide variety of users that are on the call, so these are the areas of input that I kind of want to hit on. I'm going to just kind of go over some background information on GCAT, discuss some future trainings, kind of what's changing with the system, and then some benefits of the new system on using GCAT and TIMS. And then, so that's kind of set up just through some PowerPoint slides just to kind of give everyone a brush up and background on it. And then I'll step into some examples and kind of maneuver my way around the tool and show you how to use it essentially. So with a few examples. We have the schedule till 3. I think the first 2 we did only went about an hour and a half, so it could, at any time in that range, just kind of give you a feel for it, just to get through the material. So just some background stuff I want to touch on first. The screenshot you see here is the Highway Safety Program, our GCAT website, and this is housed on our ODOT website. So if you were just go to the main ODOT website, type in GCAT in the upper right search box. This is the page that it'll take you to. And on here we have several links that are posted as far as how to get access, the CAM tools, and just various items in working with crash data and things like that. So the GCAT button over here to the right-hand side will take you to the TIMS website. But I just kind of wanted to show you that a lot of the files that we use for the system are kind of housed here just separately. This is more of just like a reference page where we keep some of that information. So what I have here is the future training. So as you can see here, we are on the third training webinar that we've done. These were kind of like done in like a blitz style format just because we didn't think that the GCAT system on how it was currently set up was going to be going away as soon as it did. So that's why we got 3 of these in August. But I have this on here just because I want to mention that this presentation should be recorded and then we'll just post it online. So anyone that wasn't able to make one of these first few trainings will be able to just kind of view it whenever's convenient for them. So we're looking to do that as far as posting it. And then in the fall sometime, we're going to be working with our LTAP center here at ODOT to schedule some in-class trainings, kind of like I've done in the past at our district offices and things like that. If districts or, and external users are interested in taking in-class training. But that in combination with, a monthly webinar or whatever in the future, just kind of be on the lookout for that. Once we sit down with them and get those set up, that information will be sent out. So just some history on the crash analysis tool. So it started here at ODOT back in 2008. And then in 2011, we upgraded it just to include like city, village, township, and a few other attributes. And then in 2012, with the release of the new OH1 crash report form, is when we kind of did like an overhaul on it to update the query form and tools and add those other elements that then were introduced from the crash report. So we wanted users to be able to search on those items and have that in the data set download. So that's what occurred in 2012. And then for the last 5 years or so, it's been pretty much untouched and operating. And then that's why in 2017 here, we're upgrading it and moving it over into the TIMS system. So that's currently the state that it's in now. After the webinar last week that I had, that afternoon, the mapping application in the old GCAT actually went away. So if you try and go to any links that took you to GCAT before, it's going to send you to TIMS right now. So the old system, is basically gone. And so GCAT, as it is, it will be just functioning from the TIMS system. As you can see here, I have a screenshot of the standard 4-page OH1 crash report form. This is what the GCAT program's mirrored after. We wanted users to be able to search on attributes that are from this report form, various items that are built into the query form. So that's the way that GCAT was before, and that's the way that we still want it to function and whatnot. So even though the platform that it is housed under is new, the underlying, intention of the program is still the same, with search and crash data from the report form and all those attributes. Another thing I have on here is the ODPS crash report website. So just wanted to kind of show you this in case some users have never been here. Just another tool that you can use when searching crash data, and if you're looking for crash reports. More likely when it comes to more recent data. I think they house up to 5 years currently on this ODPS crash report website through public safety, and so you can search on there by county, crash date, jurisdiction, law enforcement agency, that sort of thing, and with the end goal of being able to get the crash reports that you can view in PDF style. The nice thing in using this website in combination with GCAT is we get document numbers for crash reports. Each crash has a unique document number, and that essentially can be entered in right here in this white box. If you want to view a report, you can view the reports from our CAM tool. Just throwing this out there because sometimes if a report's done electronically, it might be on this system pretty quick. On the public safety website, whereas it might take us a few weeks to get it in the database and all that lined up. So just kind of wanted to throw out this website the link there is at the bottom that you can see. So that kind of just goes through some background on the system itself. That brings us to why we're here today. So you probably signed up for this training because you saw that there was a change occurring and you want to, be informed about it. So ODOT is moving the GCAT program from the existing website. At the top there, you can see the green screen. That's what the login page used to look like, which that no longer exists, to the TIMS mapping platform, which is shown below. So the TIMS stands for our Transportation Information Mapping System, and that's a public-facing website that is housed through the department here. It's pretty much maintained by our Technical Services Division, and it has all sorts of stuff in it as far as routes, boundaries, roadway inventory, various things like that, and you'll kind of see some of those in the examples. But it hosts a wide variety of information related to roadways here in the state, and so we just kind of added GCAT within that. I kind of just touched on why is this change occurring. It's the map that we were using in the old GCAT, that was a version 6, and basically Microsoft's not supporting that anymore. Last year we tried to upgrade the map to the version 7, and we just had a lot of issues with the way shapes were drawn and things like that. So we held off and we actually stayed with version 6 last year. But then we were informed that Microsoft's no longer be supporting this version 6. So instead of trying to bring the old GCAT system and implement a bunch of upgrades to it, we moved it into the TIMS system, where it's a more managed and maintained program in moving forward and whatnot. And it also introduces several different features that we'll be able to now add as layers and different things like that. So it's kind of integrated with that now instead of just being its own separate entity. Okay, so that pretty much takes us to what the new homepage looks like for logging into GCAT. So the screenshot that I have here is the TIMS login page. And you can see if any of you have been on this website before, it remained unchanged. We just added this bottom left-hand button that says Crash Data Search right there. So that's the new GCAT login button. The website for this is listed here at the bottom of the screen. But if you just go to ODOT's homepage again and scroll down a little bit on the left-hand side, you can't miss it. There's a big link that says, TIMS and whatnot. So it's, I have the link posted here, but it's accessible right through our main ODOT website. So when you click that button to log in, it's going to take you to this screen right here, and it has several different options. So our goal with this was to kind of steer the user in the direction that they're looking to go. So the first option would be they're an existing GCAT user. They already have a username and login, whether they're internal at ODOT or an external user. If majority of users, this is going to be the route they go, and they can log in directly. The second option is that it's a new user and they need a GCAT account. So when they click the new user button there in the bottom left, it'll send them to a PDF that I have, and it basically funnels them in the correct direction of if they're a new user, how they can get that account access. So there's kind of 3 different ways. If you're an ODOT user, an ODOT employee that needs access, it tells you on that sheet, just email me and we can get you access. If you're an external user that already has a MyODOT account for another application, again, it tells you on there, just email me and we'll add the user account access since you already have an account. And then if someone doesn't have an account, the third option then would be you just have to create a MyODOT account. And so all that's labeled out when you just click that new user button. Brings up a 2-page PDF and labels it all out there for you. The third one's on here is forgot your password, and that just sends you to the MyODOT website, and there's a forgot password link right there on the left-hand side. And then the last one is access public information. So currently, since TIMS is it's publicly available, we do have like a safety button in there, which I'll show you later. And so anyone can click that button for like 2016 crash data, and they can see, dots plotted on the map of where crashes occurred and whatnot. They don't have the access to be able to click on any of those crashes and get the information, get the reports, or even download it into the CAM tool or anything like that. That's strictly going to be, the GCAT users and whatnot. But if someone did work their way to this page and they're just from the general public, then that's the route we'd send them if they just want to see where crash points are. So that's what's on there. And I just added this slide recently since the first two webinars. So this is, I guess, pretty important when you're looking to log into the new GCAT TIMS. When you click the existing GCAT user, if you already have an account, you click the login button, you'll probably get a pop-up that, as you see here on the screen, that says Windows Security. And up there, it's in this example, it says ITS domain / it could be, it'll be different when you log in. It'll say something potentially that's more lined up with your local, login access at your agency or whatnot. But I just wanted to show you that what you'll need to do here to log in. So as you can see up there, how it has, a domain name with a username. What you'll want to do is hit use another account, which is at the bottom there. And then that gives you the ability to type in a username and password. And so here I have, as you can see in the yellow portion down below, for the username, then you'll have to enter it as such. It'll be o.online with a / and then your username. So, which is typically like your first initial and last name. Some of them have numbers after that. And that's where you'll type in your username. So just want to let you know that in your password will, remain the same, but for the username, it's got to be that o.online / and then your GCAT username that you used to just type in before. So we've had a lot of comments about they weren't sure how to log in, and so this has come up several times. So I just wanted to point it out in this training that you'll have to enter it that way. Okay, but once a user does log in, it brings them to this screen right here, which is the crash data search. And this is essentially the look of the new query form. So on the old GCAT, you had that top toolbar, and the query form was one of those icons you clicked on at the top. And then once you click that, it would bring up the query form, and you'd start selecting your items. When you first log into GCAT TIMS here, the query form comes up. So this is set up. The main difference between the old system and the new is this portion of the workflow, where first we want you to select attributes from the query form, and then we'll kind of move into the map, versus the old one that kind of had the query form and map all on one page. This one separated them out, just the way that the system's set up. And so this will kind of explain the workflow as it goes here. But over here on the left-hand side, it says required, and it says year and county, or CVT, which stands for city, village, or township. I just make note of those as kind of like on the old query form. You always had to select at least a year, just so it knows it can kind of narrow results and just kind of, I mean, typically you're going to be looking for specific years anyways, whether it's 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. That's a requirement on here, and you won't be able to really go to the map anyways by not selecting a year, because you'll have too many results, and so it'll just give you a pop-up, and then you just have to go in and click a year. So, but the other qualifier here is that you'll have to also select a county. So when you get into GCAT and you're looking to look at a particular intersection or corridor, where you can draw your shape, then you're gonna, when you zoom into that location, you should know the county that the location falls under. And so because the workflow is a little different here in that it displays, and you'll see in an example, but it displays all crashes, and then you go in and draw your shape. That's why we have to select county, just so when we go over to the map, it doesn't display crashes for the entire state, which it exceeds the limit anyways. Again, you'll get a pop-up, but so it can be, if you have no other qualifiers, you pretty much just have to come in here and select year and county, and then you can move on. And so you can see that there's 5 buttons on there in the query form: the when occurred, crash details, emphasis areas, driver vehicle, and location tabs. Those are basically so we had 4 on the old query form, and the only one we separated out was this emphasis areas. We just made it its own box. But otherwise, those other 4 are exactly the same from the old query form, and same functionality and that sort of thing. The other 2 boxes on here is the view and map, and then the download button. And the difference between those 2 is, so here you can see the first one is the view and map. That's essentially saying, okay, I've queried on information from this crash data search page. Now I want to go to the map. So majority of the time, that's the flow that's going to happen, because you're wanting to draw that shape to get that particular area or intersection. But we also added this other button over here, which is just the download button. And so if a local jurisdiction comes in here and they just want all crashes for their county for a certain year, or if a township comes in here and they just want, all crashes for their township for a certain year, they could just come into the query form, select the year, select their township, and then hit download, and it just shoots them the data set right then. So they don't essentially need to go to the map to see where all those crashes occurred if they just want the pure data for their county or jurisdiction or area sort of thing. So that was just an additional feature that we added in so that we could get more results out of it without having to go to the map. So in the bottom left corner there, what I mean is the view and map has a limit of 105,000 records in which it can display on the map. And then from what you can see on the map, downloading that into to then put into the CAM tool has a limit of 5,000, which whenever you're putting crashes into a CAM tool, that's where it's more site specific, and you should really just be looking at an intersection or a corridor, or even under a jurisdiction. Typically you're not, the reason behind the CAM tool is that so you can analyze those crashes. So having a limit of 5,000 to be able to put in there is, we feel like, is way over and above, but of what you'll be able to, of what you'll actually want to analyze in the in the CAM tool anyways, and whatnot. So that's the limit on those, and then the download button has a limit of 105,000 too. So we pretty much set that as the limit. As you can see over there to the right-hand side then. So when you're searching, if you just want to search 3 years of crash data, you can do that for any county in Ohio. If you want to start getting into like 5 and 10 years of crash data, then there's a few counties, the more urbanized ones, that we might just have to be a little bit more selective on in narrowing that down, just because they, for example, like the Cuyahoga, Hamilton, and Franklin counties, those all have up in the 30,000 range as far as crashes each year. So if you're searching 3 years of data, you're talking 90 to 100,000 crashes. So that all fits under the 105,000 limit. But when you start to expand it up to 5 and 10 years, it hits the limit. So there's just various ways and we can search that down, and I'll get into that in some examples and whatnot. So taking the old query form, I have a screenshot of that here, and with the 4 tabs that we had before, and then each item listed within those tabs that we used to have that was on the old query form. And so we sat down and pretty much looked at, okay, since we're moving it over and we just want to make keep the tool user friendly, is there anything that we need to clean up or get rid of that's really not being used by users, and that sort of thing. So I just want to make a note here that the items in black that you see on the screen here will remain on the query form in the TIMS program. And then the items in red, we have essentially removed from the query form. And that's only just the ability to search on them. So for example, like if a user comes into the query form and they want to run crash data for a certain location. Typically, they're not looking at like, they're not running a query on, for example, like posted speed or gender or direction from or direction to. These are more, I guess, qualifications that weren't just essentially, being used for the most part. And so we kind of remove those from the query search. However, all the items that you see on here are still going to be in your CAM tool download. So you're still going to get like your road conditions and weather conditions and day of week, in direction from to, all that stuff will still be in the download when you're at the map and then you go to export it into your CAM tool. You'll still have all these fields in that. So once you get them in Excel and you're in the CAM tool, you can sort and filter if you want to by any of these. I only have them X'd in red here because we just removed them from the query form at the beginning. And so it helped us condense the query form a little bit and save us some real estate as we were setting it up so that a user's not having to do essentially any scrolling up and down the screen when they're filling it out. So just to kind of walk through each of the 5 tabs real quick on the new query form, I just have screenshots of each. So the first one's when occurred, and you can see here that year and month are the 2 items you can select. And so as you can see there in the bottom portion where I have the benefit, so a benefit now with it being in the TIMS program is users can search crash data up to 10 years. So the old GCAT system, we could do 5. Now you have the ability to do up to 10. So that's definitely an added benefit, and that's the most that we can search here, even in our ODOT databases. So we have a 10-year records retention policy, and so this pretty much reflects that back up to 10 years. After this webinar today, we're releasing the data into production. So, excuse me, here you can see the latest year is 2016. These 2017 should be populated in here, and that data should be appearing then. We wanted to do it after the webinar just so the examples and stuff still went through. But those are the 2 items you can select there, is year and month, and they're all you just click. Once you click them, they highlight, and that's all you have to do for whatever ones you want. The next tab is the crash details. So here there's 3 options. There's our 19 different crash type codes, as you can see here up at the top. Then we have crash severity, and this breaks it down to the 5 injury severity codes. And then the last one is the document number search. So if you have any document numbers that you want to put into the system to get potentially, a CAM tool download, or if you just want to look at them in the system, if you got them from somewhere else, like a crash report or whatnot, then, you can enter them in here and go about that. So we had that functionality in the old CAM tool, or in the old query form, and so that's remained. Just wanted to note here that at the bottom that the document numbers must be in the format of document number followed by a comma and a space, and then document number, kind of like you can see there. And when they're entered in that format, then they show up like how they do in the green right here. And then the system will, read it accurately. The third box on the query form is the emphasis areas. So we broke this out, and so it has its own box. But you can see here that these are all the emphasis areas that we kind of pay particular attention to within the safety program. And I know a lot of local agencies, safe communities, and things like that like to look at certain things like this too. So these are pretty much all remain unchanged from the old query form. The one that we did add in is what I have circled in red there for unrestrained. So before, if someone was looking to run crash data on where seatbelts weren't being used, they didn't have that feature before. So now that we added that into there. But the rest of these are pretty much set up, just so like you select it and then it's treated when you select it, it's treated as like an include. So I have an example that we'll click on motorcycle emphasis area later on, and you'll see how it populates those. So pretty much the same as unchanged as before. The fourth one is the driver vehicle box, and these are just straight from the crash report. So we have type of unit, special function, traffic control type, contributing circumstances, and then sequence of events. And this really gets down into the details if you're really looking to search for something specific. So in the text there, I put like how many codes, are available in these drop downs. So if you were to go up and unit type up there and click in that white box, it'll have a drop down with all 28 codes. And then you could pick one, you could pick multiple, that sort of thing. But these get really more into the details, but they're nice features to have on there if you're looking for specific crash information. So that's pretty much remained unchanged from the old query form. And then the last one is the location tab. So we have crash location on there, which is a pull straight from the crash report, same as the old query form. Then we added county in there. So this is the box then where when you come into the query form and select your year, you'll also have to click in this either county or city, village, township box to narrow the results just a little bit more with any search that you're going to take to the map view. And so then the last one I have on there is the NLFID search. And when you click that button, you get this pop-up here that you can see in the screenshot that says NLFID search. And before, so we had this functionality in the old query form where if you knew like the county route section so basically the NLFID and then the begin and end log point, you could just go into the query form and type that in and then run your data, and it gets you just the crashes along that segment from the begin log point to end log point. So this is still the same functionality. The benefit of this now is you'll have to know the log points, but you won't, if someone's unfamiliar with how like the NLFID is set up, you don't have to build that yourself. If you come in here and select the county, in this example in the bottom right corner, you can see I selected Belmont. Then if you want to, then you choose the route. So you can see how from the roadway inventory, it looks at, okay, all the routes in Belmont County, you got counties, municipal, township, interstates, ramps, and then state route and US route. So if it occurred on US 40, you could just select that right there. Then it'll populate it in there, and it pretty much builds the NLFID string for you. So then you just type in your log points and go from there. So those screenshots are basically the new query form. And you'll see some live example when we get done with the slides here and whatnot. But then the next page is your map screen. And so just some things I want to point out on here. Whenever you come to the map view, it's going to look just like this. In the upper left corner is this toolbar that I have highlighted in red, this blue toolbar. And this is the same functionality that TIMS already had built into it. So it's kind of nice. We only added this, let's see, this one button on the end here, where you can get like the CAM tool download and stuff like that. So it has that, and then it also has the legend. So the dots that get plotted on the map, you can see the injury severities and the colors associated with those. And then on the left-hand side over here is where the drawing features are for circles and polygons. And then in the bottom right corner is the get data download. So once you draw your shape and you want to export it into the CAM tool, just like before, there's the export data button in the bottom right corner. So that's kind of the view that it's going to look like when you come to the map. And those are the different features that you can basically use and whatnot. So just to cover the polygons and circles real quick, for starting with the corridors on the left, before you pretty much just drew a polygon as like a box on the GCAT system. Now we have it set up so that you could just draw like a straight line on the road, and then it builds in that automated buffer that and that's the screenshot that I have there. You can see how it's like a uniform buffer surrounding the roadway. I'll show you some benefits of that now when I do an example of a corridor in the tool later. But we still have the option if you like to draw, you know, the shape manually and whatnot, you can still do that with the polygon feature. Then over to the right hand side is intersections. And so we have a point with a buffer now. So we have the default set to 250 feet radius for the intersection. And all this consists of is just dropping a point and it builds in that buffer for you. And that's what you can see there in the image. We also do have the circle as an option, just like before, where you could kind of make it however big or small you wanted. So those are when it comes to drawing shapes, those are the 4 options. I mean, they're pretty much two of each, and they're the same. It just comes down to user preference. But the ones with these buffers built in should make it a lot easier, and just, yeah, either just drawing along the roadway or you just clicking a point at the intersection. What I have labeled out here at the bottom of the page is that, and you'll get the hang of this when you start to use it, but to close out a shape, it has changed over to a double left click, versus before, you know, you would left click, start to draw your shape. Each point essentially dropped each time you left clicked, it would drop a point, and then when you were done with your shape, you'd right click and it'd close it out. It's transitioned now into every time you left click, same as before, it'll drop a point, and then when you double left click, it locks your shape in. So that's just a slight change with this one in drawing shapes, and you'll get the hang of that when you start to use it. So then from the map, and I kind of touched on this earlier, is the data download. So there's essentially two options as far as how you want to download your data set. So the first option is you just download it directly from the query form, and that was that download button that I mentioned on the crash data search page. We have one at the top and bottom, just so if you're filling out the query form and you start to expand a few of those, you don't have to scroll all the way to the top to click download, and you're already at the bottom of the page, you can just go ahead and click download. They act the same way. But that just downloads a data set that you can take straight to the CAM tool. So again, that's just going to be for larger areas, whether a county or local jurisdictions wanting to download a data set. That's what that'll get you. And when that downloads, it's in a CSV format, and it has a 105,000 download limit as far as crash records. The other option to download the data is from the map view, and so this is basically the way that old GCAT used to be. You go to the map, you draw your shape, then you want to export that data set that fits within your boundary that you drew. And that's where you come to the map, and there's that, in the bottom right corner, there's that export data button. And so then when you click that button, you can see the first one here says to Excel. And so that downloads, and it downloads in a different format, the .xls. But no matter which of these options you use, option 1 or 2, to download your data set, we still have the same, you just use the same CAN tool. It reads both of them essentially. So no matter which one you use, you know, it'll import both of them, or either or, I should say. And so that when you come to the map view again, that just has a 5,000 crash record limit. So that covers the two ways to download the data set. And then, so now you have your data set downloaded locally to your computer. On the old GCAT, it used to download into that text file, .txt. So now it's just either going to be a CSV or an XLS. And then you want to, when you want to get your CAM tool, then that top toolbar, when you're on the view and map page, top toolbar on the far right hand side, there's this little roadway button drop down. And then you can see in there that it says CAM tool Excel. Same as before, it'll ask you what do you want to do with this CAM tool. You just open it up, and then you can go ahead about importing your data set. So that portion remains unchanged. And then just for some new users and whatnot, if we have some on the call here, or if anyone's unfamiliar with the CAM tool, when you download that Excel file and open it up, it brings you to this crash data tab. And this is where you can go about importing the data set. So the thing that has changed within the CAM tool is when you click on the CAM tool toolbox, click to open the analysis toolbox here on the left hand side, gives you this pop-up toolbar. And here is where you'll still click the yellow button, but you can read now that it says TIMS GCAT import, and it says the CSV or XLS format. So you can see there that no matter which way you're downloading the data from the query form or map, you know, it'll read both of those. From that point, the CAM tool so far has basically remained unchanged as far as functionality, but Derek and I are looking to do some cleaning up of it as far as some of these icons and things like that. Different things, way we can make it easier make it just better for users, but essentially the functionality of it, you'll still come in here, click the toolbox, import your data set, and then you can, you know, get your charts and graphs. So here I just have a screenshot. When you click the toolbox and you go to import your data set, we are looking to upgrade the number of data columns from 57, which it's currently been as far as I've known the CAM tool, and then to 148. So we're going to have like a lot of new fields and whatnot on there. So currently, like for example, in there, in the old CAM tool, we used to host up to 2 units of information. So if 2 vehicles were involved in a crash, you'd have information for both of those. That'll be expanded to 3 units on this implementation. And so just know that some of these features are currently being built within the CAM tool. So we'll always have the most recent CAM tool posted to the TIMS website that you can download, and we'll also have it on the GCAT reference page. And if you know you open a new CAM tool in a few weeks and things look different as far as just on the first page there, just know that the functionality is still the same. You can go in there, import your crashes, and get your charts and all that info. So when it generates those charts, it's still done here through the analysis button, the analyze data, and you can see the summarized charts there. And so if anyone hasn't seen this before, well, what it does is takes the info from your crash data tab and just formulates it into these pivot tables and charts so that it just makes analysis quicker. The graphs also get generated at the same time that these charts do. And so when you hit that second Analyze Data button, it not only populates these charts, but it, fills out these graphs and whatnot. And the Graphical Analysis tab is right next to the Data Analysis. So those three tabs pretty much can be used together. The Crash Data tab, Data Analysis tab, which is the charts, and then the Graphical Analysis tab, which is what you can see here on the screen. These are just additional features if you want to print out reports or put them in a study, anything like that. Another tab we have in the CAM tool is the histograms. And so this basically is a beneficial tool if you're looking at like corridors, long like stretches of road, whether it's 1 mile, 5 mile, 10 mile sections. You can set the log points at the bottom to any breakdown that you want, whether it's quarter-mile sections or half-mile sections, and then over that stretch of roadway, then it kind of gives you a visualization of where the crashes are occurring the most. So in the background here, the one in the blue, you can just see like spikes and crashes as you go along the corridor. In the front image here that has the red and the blue, it's basically the same chart, it just starts to break it down by severity. So you can maybe see a location where there's not as many crashes, but they're more severe. Just different things like that can be beneficial when you're just kind of scanning through it and whatnot. So that was on the old CAM tool, still on there currently. Same with collision diagram. You can generate a collision diagram, but there is a manual process that goes with this as far as building your crash diagram, but it gets you a decent start in going down that route if you use this program for that. For example, like this is a collision diagram that was set up using the GCAT or using the CAM tool, just from this basic layout to this right here. So that's pretty much what I have as far as slides go. Just kind of wanted to go through those so that everyone could get a brief understanding of what the new system kind of entails before I start to get into some examples here. And so it kind of shows you different things, and then as I go through the examples, hopefully it clicks of what I kind of just talked about and whatnot. So bring up my page here. Okay, so on the screen right now, I have just on the ODOT website that our highway safety page, which has our reference info for GCAT, and that can just be found by just typing GCAT up here in the right search box. But down here at the bottom, so we have the CAM tool itself and it says TIMS after it. So that's going to be the current CAM tool, and that's also the one that's linked through TIMS. So if you're in the map view and downloading your data set, you can just click on the link to get that. We'll also make sure that there's an old CAM tool in here still on this website, so that if you have old text files or anything like that saved in your documents and you want to basically import one of those for analysis of maybe something you did a year or two ago or whatnot, we'll still have that old CAM tool on there so you can use that, because the new one doesn't read that text file. So we'll make sure that the old one stays out there if you need it. So that's that page, and then this GCAT link right here would take you to the TIMS page. As far as finding the TIMS icon, again, if you just come to the ODOT homepage, and then I'm just going to scroll down a little bit on the homepage, and then on the left-hand side is this Maps and References, and you can see the TIMS link right here. So when you click that, it brings you to the login page for GCAT, just the generic page for TIMS. And you can see different features that you can use there. Down in the bottom left corner is where the GCAT button is. So crash data search, if you hover over it, it says search crash data here, and then it mentions GCAT just so there's no confusion that it's maybe something else. When you click that, it brings you to that login page here with those different features. So each one of these, you can select. We're an existing GCAT user, so we'll go ahead and select login. And then that brings us here to the query form. And so this is essentially what it looks like. And right now we don't, essentially have to do any scrolling, so it's nice that it's all right in front of us on one screen, and we can go about selecting our attributes now. So all of these buttons are just treated as, they just basically expand down when you select them. So for example, here in the when occurred, if I click it, it expands those down, shows me years, shows me months, and then that applies then for all of these. And then when you do select information, you just click it once, and then if you click it again, it unselects. So pretty easy to use there. When you select multiple items, you can see how I have 3 things selected here. It shows the number 3 over here. So that if I close out of that tab and I want to go to something else, I can see that there's something selected up here in the when occurred tab. So just kind of a little reminder, so you don't have to go through, if you kind of forgot what you maybe just selected, you don't have to kind of go through each one again and look at it. You can just, this is a little reminder of what's going on in there. So let's see. And then there's also this clear button up at the top here, self-explanatory. If you got stuff in your query form and you just want to blank it out, you can select the clear button. Okay. So the first example I'm going to start with is just trying to hit a few different scenarios here and whatnot. So the first one I'm going to do is just downloading a county-wide data set. So if I come in here and select on the when occurred, I'll select 2016. And then if I come down to the location tab and select here in the county box, you can see all the counties. And so as you select them, it populates them, and then you can X them out. But for this example, we have 2016 and Adams County. And if I just wanted to download this data set, you can just click the download button. Right there it says, gives me 582 results, basically crash records, and then then I can select this download button if I want to, save it down into CSV format that I could then put in the CAM tool and whatnot. Or if you just want your data set for, if that local jurisdiction has its own analysis methods and whatnot. There's where you can select it and just download it straight from the query form. Same thing kind of goes for, city, village, township. We could do 3 years of data, come down to the location tab, and then in the city, village, township box, you can see all those populated in here. And so it has the county that it's within too, just as a kind of a reminder, because we have several townships with the same name. So having that county identifier is nice. So same thing in this example, if a township came in here, selected a data set, download, then they can shoot it off to the CAM tool or wherever else they can use the data for. So that just kind of shows you right there, just direct downloads from the query form. Okay, so I'm back on the query form. I cleared everything out. In this example, we're going to start with the query form, and then we're going to move into the map view. And so this one, I'm going to select multiple items from the query form, and then have that option then in the moving into the CAM or moving into the map view. So in this example, I'm going to look at 3 years of crash data, 2014, 15, and 16, for 2 different counties, Stark and Summit. So I'll start with my years here, 2016, 15, 14. And then I'm going to come down to location. I'm looking at two counties now. So I can come in and select Summit, select Stark. And now that I have those selected, I'm just looking at like fatal and serious injuries that are motorcycle related. So if I come into the crash details tab and crash severity, I can select the serious injuries, incapacitating, and the fatal. And then the last thing I want to select is the motorcycle related. So then I'll go to the emphasis area tab, and on that drop down, you can see the emphasis areas again, and I'll just select motorcycle. So if I expand all these out, you can kind of, see again what's being searched. So this one I want to take into the map view. So here it tells me your selections, yielded 230 results. Select view and map to view the crash data results. So you just go ahead and select view and map. And then it zooms into those 2 counties, and then you can see there the crash records plotted out. So now that we're on the map view page, I'll point out a few things. If you're curious to know, because of this search, we know that the red ones are the fatal crashes and the purple ones are the serious injuries. But if you wanted to see where those are labeled out, on the left-hand side of this top toolbar up here, you can hit this Set Visible Layers. It's the first button. And then there's this Legend button. So right there is where you can see the breakdown for those severity types. And so again, this box can be collapsed with this button right here if you want more viewing space and whatnot. So this basically plotted out the query that I just ran. So 3 years of data for Stark and Summit, and the fatal and serious injury related motorcycle crashes. Say I just want to look at, zoom in a particular location, and I just want to look at one of these crashes without having to download it all into the CAM tool and that sort of thing. So this feature we used to have in the old GCAT also. When you came to a particular location, you right-clicked, at a particular spot, it would pop up any crashes that occurred within 1/10 of a mile of that right-click, and then kind of give you just some info on the crash and the crash report link and that sort of thing. So that's essentially what we're doing right here. If I'm zooming in and I want to look at the details for this crash, this serious injury crash at this intersection, again, in this top toolbar up here, there's the Identify Features button. So if I select that, it'll say click the map to select features. So I'll select the map right there, pretty much right on top of the crash. See, you can see that it highlights it, and then here's the details from that result layer of the crash there. So I can see like the document number. This crash report link is not currently showing up right now, but that will be an option in there to be able to just select the report right from this link and look at it. And then as you scroll down, it's a lot of the features that get put into the CAM tool. But here, if you just want some quick data, if you're just looking at a crash or two, you can see NLFIDs, lat longs, and then anything related to that and whatnot. So there you can see it gets into the Unit 1 stuff, the second vehicle, and then the third vehicle, if there is one involved. So that's just kind of wanted to point out that Identify Features button up there in the top toolbar. Then if you want to get back to the shapes and whatnot, you can go to this Crash Analytics tool. This is the far right button. And that's basically our GCAT button that we added. The filter crash events by graphic basically puts you back to the drawing shapes option right here. And then you can see the CAM tool link right there, and then a help file that will be associated with it. Okay. And then the other option that I wanted to show you in here is under the far left side here where it says Set Visible Layers. We were over here clicking on the legend earlier. Under the layers here, so the one that we have selected is the crash details. If I select that, it basically turns that layer off. And as I select it again, they reappear. But below that is the boundaries button. So this is already existing in TIMS, and we're just kind of using any features from it that to kind of assist in GCAT if you need them for anything. So in these boundaries here, you can select county, township, all sorts of boundaries and that sort of thing. So our ODOT district. So if you select county, shows the counties there. When you're searching crash data and you want to break it down more into the townships, here's the township layer, and it gives the name within that. So that's a feature we kind of just piggybacked off of. You're not essentially running data from these boundaries, but it's a good visual if you're looking for crashes in a particular, if you run crashes for a particular boundary and you want to see if essentially where they're occurring within that, you can pull up those layers. So that pretty much covers that. If you wanted to download the data set of what you see here on the screen, these 230 results, in the bottom right corner here is the Export Data button. And when you hover over it, it says Export Data. So you click that little drop down, and then there's actually these different features on which you can download it into. The standard GCAT user will be using this Excel one. You pretty much just have to click it twice. Once you click to Excel, then it'll turn like a, it's not doing it right now, but it'll turn like a green button, and you just hit, it should say download then, and you'll hit the download button. It'll have a pop-up that, just like before, what do you want to do with this XLS file? Just like before, it used to say, what do you want to do with this text file? It's just basically save it down to your machine.
Hey, Mike, you have to select all the crashes first. That's what you're missing.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yep. Okay, I'll continue it on then in my example where I draw a shape and select the crashes. Okay, so we're going to go back to the query form. And as you can see here, it still has everything selected that I had before. So as you kind of work with the query form, moving into the map view, and then if you say to yourself, oh, I want to go back and select more years or less years, or I want to look at more severity types, or I want to add anything in, that's kind of the nice feature of having everything still available on here. So when you come back to it, you don't have to reselect everything. So what you can see here is everything. But if you did want to, obviously we have the clear button up here if you want to start over fresh again, which is what I'll do for this next example. Okay, so I'm back on the query form. I cleared everything out. And in this example here, I'm going to go about drawing a circle at an intersection. And then from that, we'll kind of go right into like drawing a polygon and whatnot. So this is probably this is like the biggest change as far as the old GCAT system to the new. And it's this workflow that you'll see here in a second. So we're going to go in and select years. And again, I'm just going to do 3 years of data. And what I'm looking at here is just a particular intersection within Summit County. So once I select my years, I can come down to the location tab. And here's where I have to select that county. So now that I've selected, or I have my years and I have the county, I'm going to go to view in the map. And so basically what it's doing here is, it tells me my selections gave me 43,000 results. It's looking at Summit County for those 3 years of data. And I'm just going to hit view and map. You can pretty much envision it as, okay, yeah, it's giving me that number. I'm just going to move forward just like I was on the old GCAT system as far as bringing the map up, and I'm just going to zoom into my location as far as where I want to plot crashes. So let's see here. One second here, let me try this again. Okay, for right now, so one of the slight issues we're having is just sometimes when you search it, like on that motorcycle example, I searched those 2 counties and it zoomed right to the 2 counties. Sometimes when you're searching a county, it's going to like put it down here in like the ocean. And again, this is just a bug that we're working through, but you can just pan and zoom and then you'll find it. You can get this to come up on your screen. So here I'm just going to zoom into the location that I'm looking at. So again, I want to look at crashes at an intersection. So again, the workflow that I was talking about is it essentially plots all crashes, and then what we're going to go do is draw the circle just like before in old GCAT, so that we can just get the crashes at the intersection. So here you can see how it plotted all the crashes for the county. But I'm just going to look at this intersection. So it can be beneficial sometimes if you're looking at an area, and even though I want to run this particular intersection, you know, it kind of gives me just an envision in my head like the crashes that might be surrounding that intersection and whatnot, both in quantity and severity. But here I'm just going to come in and I have the point and circle options for intersections. So I'm going to leave it on the point one at first. Here we have our buffer already set to 250 feet. And so if I click the draw button, click on the map, it draws the shape, and then I can hit search. And when I hit search here, it's just looking within that boundary, just like on old GCAT. So even though, when we came to the map view, it gave me 43,000 crashes for Summit County, it's essentially, again, just plotting those out. You still just go into wherever you want to draw your shapes, that particular intersection, draw your shape, run your crash data, and like you can see here, so I'm getting 42 features found. So basically there's 42 crashes at this intersection for those 3 years that I looked at. Then if I wanted to download the data set, then I can click this button in the bottom right corner, the export data to Excel. And then, yeah, that's when it turns green, and you can just select it again. And you can see in the bottom left corner here, this filtered crash events. Filtered crash events download came up. So it's an XLS, and you just want to save that to a local drive wherever you keep your files, because that's eventually what we're going to import then into the CAM tool. So that's one way to draw a circle around an intersection. If I clear that and then go back into the drop down here and select circle, then with any of these shapes, you just need to click this draw button, and then you can draw the shape accordingly. So then once you hit that search button, you'll be able to distinguish what, for one, with your shape there, but secondly, the colors change to that light teal for whatever crashes fall within that boundary that then you'd be downloading into your data set, as you can see here. So that's kind of the rundown with the intersection, or for the point and circle features for intersections. Now say I'm just going to stay on the same section of road. Say I want to expand my boundary now and not only look at that intersection, but this entire corridor here down to this pickle road here. So if I come to the line feature here in this drop down, and my buffer's still set at 250, again, I just hit draw. I'm just going to click one point on that intersection, one point on the other intersection, and then it completes my shape and whatnot. So the nice feature about using this line tool, when you're running, if you want to do like basically corridors with intersections built into that, on the old GCAT system, you'd have to go in, draw circles at each intersection with your buffer, and then draw that polygon in between them to kind of connect them all. With this one here, because that radius is 250, so you really are already getting the 250 around the intersection, but then here you're getting everything within that corridor also. So you wouldn't essentially need to draw circles here too. It's kind of all in one. Same thing, I could search this data set, and it's going to give me anything at both of those intersections, along with anything that falls along that roadway. And then there you can kind of see that labeled out right there. And then same process as far as passing it down to Excel. So I downloaded one of the data set when I just ran the intersection right here. The filtered crash events, the XLS file that it puts into, is like of this format of what you can see here on the screen. But that's just the raw data. Essentially, again, you'll just want to do here, I'm just going to save it to my desktop. And now I have it saved on my desktop, so if I want to put it into the CAM tool, there's the roadway feature button in the upper right corner here. Click that drop down, and then gives you this CAM tool. Again, I'll just basically ask you if you want to open it up. I will select the enable content that showed up right here. And then same process as before. So we click the analysis toolbox, the yellow button to import the data. It'll say select the TIMS GCAT export file. So I select OK, then I just go to my desktop where I saved that filtered crash events. Double click that, and then so then it imports the data set just as before. So most users should be familiar with that as far as importing the data, and then the data charts that you can see right here. And then from that is the graphs and whatnot also on the next tab. The one other nice feature about TIMS that when I used to teach the GCAT training classes for the old system, I actually had TIMS as a reference link within the CAM tool, because we have some users that like to hand log crash files. So if you're looking at a crash report and it seems like the location is incorrectly mapped as far as like the lat long that's provided on the report or what the NLF ID and log point is we might have in the system. Again, within this top toolbar right here, there's this find location button, and then you can do the find log point. So then here it says click on the map to identify the nearest log point. So if I select that and just click on the map right here, it gives me this little flag, and it gives me the NLF ID here, and it gives me the county log number, the log point. So this can kind of be used in conjunction with the query form too. So if I click there, say I want to run that section, just for example, from 4.3, then I'm going to click up here to 4.5. You can get the begin and end log points like right there from those. And then, like in the location tab here, and within the query form, you could come down to this NLF ID search, and then it's set up on our county log system. So in that example, we were at within Summit. We were on State Route 241. And so then if I do like log point 4.3 and log point of 4.5, and it kind of gives you the min values and max values here also at the bottom of what we have in our roadway inventory for that roadway segment, the min and the max of the log point range. Then I could hit add section, and so it adds it right there. And then I can hit close, and you can see how it adds it in this portion right here. So you could do that for up to 5 NLF, 5 log point sections, as you can see here. And so now when I search by those 3 years, it's essentially only looking at that NLF ID log point string. So if I hit view and map, it gives me 17 results. And then it plots those crashes out there. So one easy way to narrow it down if you wouldn't happen to know the log points is you can just go directly enter those in at the bottom, and then come to the map view, and then you're just looking at just those specific log points and the crashes within those. So you don't need to draw any shapes. You just would have to, you'd have to, I guess, draw a shape to just highlight them, just so they like would show up, so that you could download them. So for example, if I draw the shape there, then once I hit the search button, it knows that I'm looking at those crashes for download. So it just kind of, the shape kind of just encompasses what you're looking at. And from that point, you can come down here to the bottom right corner and do the export and that sort of thing. So the initial map view just plots the crashes and shows them to you. But then it takes that next step from the user to be able to, if you're going to either draw a shape or draw a boundary, that sort of thing, to be able to get them to download. So we went through a lot of the background information on GCAT, and then walked through the query form and all the, the different features that are within that, attributes you can select. And then we came over into the map view, and you've kind of seen, how you can use these to draw circles and polygons accordingly. And then a few different features from this top toolbar for right now. And then downloading it into the CAM tool. So as far as, my presentation and what I wanted to cover today, just to kind of make the transition a little easier, if, so that someone has an idea when they come into the new system now that this is the new system, how to move about it and download the data set and continue on your functions. This is pretty much the process of that and whatnot. So again, we're in the process of just kind of cleaning up the CAM tool. There will always still be one that functions for you on there. but just know that we're going to be looking to update a few things on that. And then the data set also for the 2017 crashes will be showing up in there too. So pretty soon it should be fully functioning, just like old GCAT was. We'll have 10 years of closed out data in there, and then 1 year of current open data, which would be 2017 currently. So I think that's, from my end, that's pretty much all I have for you today. Derek, if there's anything you want to add or you saw in the chat pod, you can shout that out now. If not, thanks for attending today. And as far as future trainings, we'll post some of that information through email. It'll probably be either both through our LTAP, but we post it on our GCAT website and whatnot. Just kind of remember when you're logging in that you'll get a pop-up and you just need to enter that ODOT online, all one word, lowercase, / and then your username, and that should get you right through. But again, yeah, thanks for tuning in today. We'll be posting this webinar online. Again, if you have any questions, you can contact Derek or myself. Thanks.